Hi, today we're looking at a very exciting new shoe. It's a very popular model and it's been updated, and it is the Brooks Adrenaline GTS 24. So new for winter 24, the Adrenaline GTS is Brooks' most popular support category shoe, and the biggest update is the addition of the brand's DNA Loft V3 nitrogen infused foam. So before we dive into that, let's have a look at some of the stats and the finer details of the shoe, and then we'll look at how it runs. So first up, the Adrenaline GTS 24, the weight in the men's shoe is approximately 284 grams, 10 ounces, and in the women's 250 grams or 8.8 ounces. The stack height and drop remains unchanged at 36 millimeters in the heel, 24 in the forefoot, so a 12 millimeter drop. It's a mid-level cushion shoe, shall we say. It's not an ultra-high stack by today's standards. And it's mid-level cushioning and mid-level support. The support comes from the brand's guide rail system, and that is largely unchanged, although in the GTS 24 compared to the 23, it does appear to be a secondary piece inserted in there. You can just about see a seam, and I think it's made in two pieces. Yet to clarify that, to be perfectly honest. In the previous model, it was a single moulded unit. On the lateral side of the heel, the guide rail appears to be one piece, but there is definitely a seam on the medial side, and it does feel a little bit stronger to me in terms of support, but more on that in a moment. So what's new about the shoe? Well, of course, the DNA Loft V3 nitrogen infused foam in the midsole. We've got a new outsole as well. It's a slightly different pattern to that. I would say it's slightly thicker in terms of the depth of the lug. It's not going to make any difference in terms of traction, but it does provide good level of control, and you can see how it's kind of got this webbed like, so it's not separate pieces, so it's one big piece, and those kind of flexes in here, can you see these pieces there, they do help the shoe twist and adapt to the contours of the ground and provide a little bit more support and stability. You can see it's a little bit denser, the rubber is a little bit closer together here, so that makes it a little bit stiffer on the medial side of the shoe as you toe off, and that's just the sensation of the rubber. Okay, the control is all coming from the guide rails in the rear of the foot. So nitrogen infused foam. The first time you put your foot into the shoe, it feels very similar to the GTS 23, but once you start running in it, you notice the nitrogen infused foam. It feels a little bit softer, it's a little bit lighter, it's a little bit bouncier. It has got a slightly nicer ride to it. The GTS 23 was a great shoe. It's a great price point, very competitively priced, and a great seller. The GTS 24, although it uses the same system, I feel it does feel a little bit more supportive, a little bit stronger, and it makes it a better shoe for it. And it becomes a better support category shoe for me because the gap between neutral shoes and support shoes is widening a little bit. Modern cushioning materials are naturally inherently more stable, and that reduces the need, I suppose, for traditional support methods, medial posts and the like. So to have a shoe that has a very definite support kind of structure in it, in the form of the guide rails, particularly on the medial side, it really does a definite job. So if someone needs support, it's going to work. So you can be assured of that. And I've always found that the Adrenaline does a good job of providing support both in the foot, and in the knee. It tends to keep the whole leg a lot more neutral and balanced. So the knees tend to move forward a little bit smoother and a bit nicely spaced, shall we say. So it does a good job of providing general support throughout the whole lower legs. The upper, very nice engineered mesh and similar design to the tongue. Feels like there's a little bit more padding in it this time, and the ankle collar and the Achilles, nicely rounded. Got this funny textured design on the outside of the heel counter. Not sure, whilst it looks aesthetically pleasing and a nice bit of detail, I'm not sure why we need it on the outside like that. And a nice detail, we've got double, can you see these little loops here on the tongue to keep the laces in place, one on each side. You can just about see them in there. It's not a gusseted tongue, but with these twin lace loops, it does keep the tongue nicely centered in the foot, stops it slipping around. So as always from Books, real nice quality design to it, seamless inside, very plush feeling, just a very, very comfortable step-in experience. On the run, yeah, very supportive. It's almost like a very supportive version of the Ghost. And of course, like the Ghost 16, it does feature the nitro-infused foam. So for the money, for me, it's got to be, I'll stick my neck out and say probably the best general all-round support shoe for everyday miles. It's a great price point as well, so it represents very good value for money. Logged a few miles in them. My pair are actually a little bit wet from my run this morning, so this is a box fresh pair. I've probably logged 40 to 50 miles in them now, only had them just over a week. And yeah, it's a great mileage shoe. It feels very comfortable. You can pick up the pace. I'm in a training block for a marathon now in the new year. So I'm kind of alternating easy to steady paces, about 8 down to 7 and a little bit quicker. And I've found no issues in the shoe. Nice rocker here. It's not mad, it's not very aggressive, but it rolls forward smoothly, and at 7-minute mile pace, it's absolutely fine. And like I said, the spring, the feel, the responsiveness that you get from the nitro-infused foam is really nice for that kind of a nice balance of everyday shoe that you might want to pick up the pace in occasionally. So there it is. It's the Books Adrenaline GTS 24, and I would say it's probably, it's certainly got to be a shoe that you need to consider if you're looking for an everyday mileage shoe that offers cushioning and control.